Let's first talk about the Iran war and what happens to the leadership within the country. Now, the Iranian government is sending out a strong message of unity. This after the US President Donald Trump claimed that there is a divide within the power structure of the Islamic Republic. In fact, the Iranian leadership says that the nation is united despite the claims made by America suggesting otherwise. Government officials and the leadership shared the same message in a bid to amplify the voice of Iran. Responding to remarks from Donald Trump suggesting that the Iranian leadership was seriously fractured, Iranian president, the parliament speaker and the chief justice all posted a nearly identical message on social media. The message said that there are no hardliners or moderates in Iran, ending with a message of one God, one nation, one leader and one path. A post on Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei's X account took aim at the enemy media's operations. These are their words that seek to undermine unity and national security. This comes in response to American President Trump's claims that the Iranian government is in a state of severe internal turmoil and infighting. In fact, on Thursday, Trump had announced the extension of the ceasefire with Iran, citing the need to allow Tehran's leadership more time to formulate a unified proposal for negotiations. In a post on his Truth Social, President Trump claimed that Iran is having a hard time figuring out who their leader is. He also said that there is infighting going on between hardliners and moderates within Iran. Let's get a perspective on this. I'm joined right now on the broadcast by Lieutenant Colonel Daniel L. Davis. He's a military expert and host of the Daniel Davis Deep Dive on YouTube. Colonel Davis, welcome to WION. Always a pleasure speaking with you. I want to start by asking you what you think of this almost similar unified message by the Iranian leadership. Is it the truth or is it a facade to cover up what Trump claims that there is an internal rift going on within the Iranian leadership?
Yeah, listen, I think that what the Iranians are saying in this particular case, anyway, can be taken at face value because it's logical. I mean, why would they have a fracture? I mean, there's any time you're talking, and definitely even the United States, there is significant internal friction when policies are being made. I mean, that's how things are supposed to work, where you have one of your advisors talking this way, another group of advisors talking another way to give different competing ideas to the president so he can come up with his best one. And there's no question that that's working on the inside with the IRGC. But the way their government is formed, there is no dispute about anything. There's the Guardian Council, headed by the Supreme Leader, is the one in charge, and that's it. Everybody else is subordinate to that, to include the IRGC. So what they're saying out loud is what we know about how their government works. And that's also logical when you think about how would it work if you're being attacked. That's not the time to say, hey, let's have this idea. No, let's have this idea and dispute between themselves. But even bigger, what is that supposed to mean for the United States? What is the implication of that somehow we're not going to get a negotiation, or that maybe they're going to give one that's to President Trump's preference? I mean, I don't think that's very likely. So I really think this is much ado about really nothing.
Colonel Davis, do you not think that Trump perhaps is looking at President Pezeshkian, who was, more or less moderate voice when the protests had happened earlier this year, much before the war began in Iran, and the others, whether it's the Foreign Minister Syed Abbas Araghchi or the Speaker Mohammad Ghalibaf, they were supposed to be on one side and President Pezeshkian was on the other, seeking a truce with the protesters. Do you not think he's, going back there and now witnessing in the talks perhaps what was felt that time?
Well, listen, whatever may have been the case at that time before the war started, that has been shattered by the decision, the choice to start a war with Iran. I mean, there's the classic rally around the flag thing among the population is frequent when you see a country attacked, no matter how much division politically there was. But at the leader level, especially now, there's not going to be there's no room for any debate. And there's not a country on the planet that I'm aware of that I could even imagine that would say, okay, after we've been attacked by an external power, we're still going to be divisive, and one side is going to be leaning toward that aggressive power. I mean, it's illogical. And everything we know about the Iranian government and the Iranian people. They do have spirited debate inside about policies, but they always have one unified position coming out of it. And so I don't see any evidence that there's any weakening of position, certainly not that one would be leaning toward the United States. I think that day is gone if it ever existed.
So if that's the case, Colonel Davis, why do you think President Trump thinks that it is good strategy to speak in such terms, that there is a rift within the Iranian leadership?
Yeah. That's something I've been puzzling over, because I can't come up with any benefit to the United States. It's almost like it's focused on an American domestic audience, like somehow we can feel better about things if we think they're the ones that are confused and they don't know what they're doing, and somehow we can imagine that puts us in a better position. But I got to tell you, there is no truth to that. I mean, when you look, the only thing that matters is what is the balance of power on the ground. How much combat power does the U.S. and Israel bring to it? How much defensive capabilities do the Iranian side have? And what can we compel or what can we not compel? And when you look at that balance, none of those kind of comments even matter, because I think we all have to accept that there is no scenario where the Iranian side is going to give in, a portion of the Iranian government is going to give in to the attacker here when they have the capacity on their advantage with the control of the Strait of Hormuz. It would be illogical for them to do so, and I don't expect that they will act illogically.
Okay, so quickly, my last question, Colonel Davis, then there are multiple reports that are saying that the Iranian foreign minister might be headed to Islamabad for the second round of negotiations. If and when that happens, do you expect any positive outcome out of that?
Well, listen, especially in light of those statements that you referred to a second ago, that all of the political leadership put out yesterday, and everything they have been putting out to those willing to read it, they have a hardening position. And so they're saying, yeah, we want the war to be over. We're happy to have a negotiated settlement, but on our terms. And they're not going to settle for any terms that's going to make it easy for the United States, or going to make it easy for Israel, or prevent them from having any kind of leverage to make this war start again. That's their number one criteria, is no chance that this war starts again. They want some kind of security guarantees, and they are saying they will not negotiate until the blockade lifts, and that they'll never give up control of that Strait of Hormuz. And so unless the U.S. is willing to do that, then I don't know that there's going to be any talks. And maybe that's why he went to Islamabad, to communicate their position.
All right, the entire world is awaiting as to what happens next. I'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Colonel Davis, for joining us on WION and sharing your perspective.
Thank you very much.